I still remember the sound of her laughter before I even opened the door. It wasn't the soft kind she used to have. It was loud, breathless, almost sinful. For a moment, I froze. The roses in my hand shook, petals brushing against my coat as my heartbeat stumbled. "Lena?" I called, trying to sound calm. "You home?" No answer. Just the echo of a low male voice, his voice. Ryan's. I pushed the door open and there they were, on his couch. Her hair a mess, his shirt half open, their faces too close. My chest caved in before my mind caught up. "Ethan!" She gasped, stumbling back, grabbing the nearest blanket. Ryan stood up, pale. "Man, this isn't..." "Don't," I cut him off. My voice cracked, but I held it steady. "Don't insult me with lies." Lena clutched the blanket tighter. "It's not what it looks like." I laughed. God, I laughed. "Then please, Lena, tell me what it is." Because from where I'm standing, it looks exactly like my wife and my best friend screwing each other on his couch. Her eyes filled with tears. "It just happened. It just happened?" I snapped. "People don't just happen into betrayal, Lena. You made choices." Ryan stepped closer. "Ethan, listen. You've been distant for months. She needed..." "Stop talking," I said, voice trembling. "You don't get to explain my distance after climbing into my wife's arms." He tried again. "I didn't mean..." "Ryan, you always mean what benefits you. Don't start pretending you've got morals now." Silence fell. Only her soft sobs filled the room. I could still smell the perfume I'd bought her last Christmas, the same one she wore tonight. "It made me sick. Why?" I whispered. "Wasn't I enough?" Lena shook her head. "You're perfect, Ethan. Too perfect. You make everyone feel small next to you. I was tired of being the good wife to a man who doesn't need me." I stared at her. "So you found someone who could make you feel needed? My best friend?" She looked away. He understood me. Ryan swallowed hard. "Ethan, I didn't plan this." I swear, I turned to him shaking. "You planned everything, Ryan. Our company, our future, our partnership. And while I worked late to build what we had, you were building something else behind my back." His jaw clenched. "You're overreacting." "Overreacting?" I took a step forward. "I caught my wife with you. Tell me, how calm would you be if you walked in on Amelia with me?" He went silent. That hit him where it hurt. Lena whispered, "Please stop shouting." "Shouting?" I laughed bitterly. "I'm barely breathing." She reached out to me. "I made a mistake, Ethan. Please don't leave." "We can fix this." I stepped back. "You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice. And you made it again and again every time you texted him, met him, lied to me." Tears streamed down her face. "I still love you." "Don't," I said quietly. "Don't ruin the word love for me." Ryan tried to move between us. "Let's calm down. We're all adults here." I stared at him. "Adults? You're a coward hiding behind self-control. You couldn't face your own wife, so you took mine instead." His voice rose. "You don't know what it's like living with your shadow over everything. Everyone praises you. I was tired of being second best." "So you took what was mine to feel like a man?" I said. "Congratulations, Ryan. You've finally beaten me at destroying lives." He went quiet. Even Lena stopped crying. The air felt heavy, like guilt had filled every corner of the room. "I trusted you both," I said softly. "Do you even understand what that means?" "Trust?" Lena broke down completely. "Ethan, please! I can't lose you." "You already did," I whispered. I turned to leave, but my legs trembled. I felt the room spinning, the betrayal pressing against my ribs like a blade. Ryan called after me. "Ethan, don't walk out. We can fix the company, I faced him." "You're worried about the company? God, even now you think about business." He looked down, ashamed. I took one last look at Lena. Her face was pale, her eyes swollen. I wanted to hate her, but all I felt was emptiness. "You know what hurts the most?" I said quietly. "I still wanted to surprise you tonight." Her lip quivered. "What?" I held up the crushed roses. "Our anniversary. You said you'd be late working, so I thought I'd bring dinner." "Surprise you?" She covered her mouth, sobbing harder. "Happy anniversary," I said, my voice breaking. Ryan muttered something, but I didn't listen. I just walked out, every step heavier than the last. The hallway blurred through my tears. I heard Lena calling my name, but I didn't turn around. I couldn't. If I did, I might fall apart completely. Outside, the night air hit me like ice. I dropped the roses into the trash. Their scent clung to my hands like guilt. For a long time I stood there staring at nothing. My phone buzzed, her name lighting up the screen, but I couldn't answer. I couldn't even breathe. I whispered to no one. It's over. And just like that, the world I built with love and loyalty collapsed into silence. The house felt like a stranger's place. Every room whispered her name. Her perfume still clung to the air, sweet and rotten at the same time. When the door opened, I didn't have to look. You shouldn't be here, I said. Lena's voice cracked. I needed to see you. Why? To say it was a dream? That I imagined it? She stepped closer. I made a mistake, Ethan. I was stupid. I was angry, I laughed without humor. You were busy. That's what you were. Please, she whispered. Don't do this. Do what? Feel. My throat tightened. You didn't think about feelings when you were in his bed. Her eyes glistened. You have every right to hate me, but don't throw away everything we built. I stared at the wall behind her. You threw it first. Silence stretched between us, heavy and sharp. She finally said, I didn't plan it. It wasn't some affair, it just happened. Stop saying that, I snapped. You don't trip into someone's arms for months. You don't accidentally book hotel rooms, send texts at midnight, lie to your husband's face. She flinched. You read my messages? Every one of them, I said, voice low. Do you know what it's like to read I miss you written by your wife to another man? She started to cry. Ethan, I'm sorry. I don't need your sorry. I need answers. There aren't any, she said softly. I was lonely. Lonely? I almost shouted. I worked late to give us a future, Lena. You said you were proud of me. I was, she said. Until your work became your life. I stared at her trembling hands. So that's the price of ambition? Betrayal? She turned away. I wanted you to notice me. I noticed everything, I whispered. Just too late. She moved toward me again, her voice desperate. We can fix this. Counseling time, please. No, I said. Time doesn't fix rot. It just hides the smell. Her lip quivered. You don't mean that. I mean every word, I said. You broke something that doesn't heal. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. I could hear the clock ticking, loud, cruel, steady. Finally, she asked, Is there someone else? What? You're distant, cold, like you've already replaced me. I almost laughed. You think there's someone else? The irony is killing me, she whispered. Do you hate me? I met her eyes. No, I wish I did. Hate would make it easier. Tears rolled down her face. I love you. No, I said. You love the idea of me, the man who forgives. She reached for my arm, but I stepped back. Her touch burned. Please, she begged. Just tell me what to do. Leave, I said simply. Her breath caught. That's it? After everything? Yes, I said. After everything. She wiped her tears, trying to sound strong. You'll regret this. Maybe, I said. But I'd rather regret losing you than keep regretting trusting you. She stormed out, slamming the door. The sound echoed like a gunshot. I stood there for a long time, listening to nothing but my own breathing. Then I opened the drawer and took out the papers, receipts, screenshots, all the evidence I'd found in the last 48 hours, hotel rooms in another city. Dinners on nights she claimed to be with friends. Her work events that never existed. I whispered to myself, it wasn't new. The realization hit harder than the sight of them together. This wasn't a one-time mistake, it was a pattern, months, maybe longer. My whole marriage had been a performance, and I'd been the only one who didn't know it was fiction. I sat on the couch, the same couch where she used to fall asleep on my shoulder, and the silence pressed against me. My phone buzzed. Ryan's name. I stared at the screen until it stopped ringing. Then it lit up again, I answered. What? He sighed. We need to talk. About the company? The company? I almost laughed. Is that all you care about? He hesitated. Ethan, this doesn't have to ruin everything. Everything? I said quietly. It already has. I'm sorry, man. You're not sorry, I said. You're scared. Don't do this, he warned. You'll regret burning bridges. Funny, I said. I thought you were the one building them with my wife. He went silent. then hung up. I dropped the phone onto the table and stared at the ceiling. The house felt heavier now, like the walls themselves knew. The photos on the shelf, the smiling faces, the vacations, the promises, they all looked fake under the dim light. I took one down, the one from our wedding day. Her eyes had been full of trust. Mine full of hope. I didn't recognize either of us anymore. I whispered, "Who were we lying to first, each other or ourselves?" The picture slipped from my fingers and shattered on the floor, and for the first time since that night, I let myself cry. Not for her, but for the man I used to be. The gala lights felt too bright, too fake, like everything else in my life. I didn't want to be there, but appearances mattered. Ryan had insisted I attend even before everything fell apart. The irony of standing in a room full of smiling liars wasn't lost on me. That's when I saw her. Amelia Hale, Ryan's wife. She stood near the window, untouched by the noise around her. A champagne glass dangled loosely in her hand, her eyes fixed on nothing. Someone introduced us. "Ethan Cole, this is Amelia Hale." She turned, polite smile flickering for a second. "I know who you are." Her voice was calm, too calm. "You used to visit our home often," I nodded stiffly. "Yeah, I did." Her gaze lingered on my face, reading more than I wanted her to. "You don't have to pretend," she said quietly. "Everyone here already knows." My chest tightened. "Knows what?" She tilted her head slightly. "That we're the ones left behind." For a moment, I didn't know what to say. I forced a weak smile. "You think I'm handling it well?" "I think you're trying to," she replied. "Just like me." Her honesty disarmed me. We stood in silence, surrounded by laughter and champagne. For once, silence didn't feel awkward. It felt like understanding. Later that night, as I left the gala, I heard her voice again. "Ethan," I turned. She walked toward me, heels clicking softly. "I wanted to say, I'm sorry." "You have nothing to be sorry for," I said. She hesitated. "Don't I?" "My husband, your wife," I met her eyes. "They made their choices. We're just living with the fallout," she exhaled shakily. I didn't think he could still surprise me. "But this..." "Yeah," I said quietly. "It's a new kind of pain." She gave a faint, sad smile. "You look like you haven't slept." "I haven't," I admitted. "You?" "Sleep feels useless now," she said. "Dreams are cruel." For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel alone. We weren't strangers. We were casualties of the same betrayal. She looked down at her hands. "He took your wife to his bed," she whispered, "but he took my heart years ago." Something inside me broke again, but not from pain. From recognition. "I'm sorry," I said. "Don't be," she replied softly. He was gone long before she came. There was no anger in her voice, only exhaustion, the kind I'd been drowning in. She handed me her card. "If you ever need to talk, or scream," I managed a small smile. "You might regret offering that." She almost smiled back. "Maybe. But sometimes it helps to talk to someone who actually understands." The next few days blurred into endless paperwork and sleepless nights. Ryan avoided me, sending messages through Claire, my assistant. Lena kept calling. I didn't answer. The world moved, but I didn't. Then, one afternoon, my office door opened. Amelia stood there, hesitant but composed. "I hope I'm not intruding," she said. "No," I replied. "You're probably the only person I don't mind seeing." She closed the door quietly and sat across from me. "I wasn't sure I should come." "You came because you needed to," I said. She nodded. "I wanted to make sure you're holding up." "I'm surviving," I said. "That's all I've got right now." "Survival's enough," she murmured. We sat there, the sound of rain against the windows filling the silence. Finally, I asked, "Why stay with him this long?" "You must have known," she looked down. "I did. But when you love someone, you start making excuses for their cruelty. You keep hoping they'll remember who they used to be." I sighed. "That's exactly what I've been doing." She met my eyes. "Then maybe we both need to stop." Her words hit deep. She leaned forward slightly. "He's planning to push you out of the company, isn't he?" I froze. "What?" "I heard him talking on the phone," she said. "He's making moves." "Be careful." My stomach twisted. "He betrays me at home and at work." "That's impressive even for him." She looked pained. "I didn't tell you to hurt you. I just thought you should know." "Thank you." I said quietly. You didn't have to, she shrugged. Maybe I did. Maybe it's the only decent thing left to do. I studied her face, tired, beautiful in a quiet way. You shouldn't have to clean up his mess. Neither should you, she said softly. But here we are. We sat in silence again, but this time it wasn't empty. It was human. When she stood to leave, she said, If you ever need an ally instead of an enemy, you have one. I smiled faintly. I think I already do. She paused at the door. Ryan used to say you were the only man he respected. Funny, isn't it? Yeah, I said. Respect must mean something different to him. She gave a sad laugh and walked out. As the door closed, I felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness, not peace, but purpose. For the first time since everything broke, I wasn't drowning. I was breathing again. Moving on sounded simple. People said it like a command. Move on, Ethan, time heals. But time didn't heal. It replayed. Every photo, every message, every echo of laughter felt like a knife twisting deeper. I sat alone in my apartment one night, the bouquet from our last anniversary still in the vase, long dead. That's when my phone buzzed. Amelia, are you awake? She texted. I stared at the screen before replying. Barely. Coffee tomorrow? She wrote. I can't sleep either. I typed, Sure, 10? She replied, 10 it is. The next morning, she was already at the cafe when I arrived. Same table by the window, same stillness in her expression. You look better, she said softly. Better than what? I asked. She smiled faintly. Better than the man who looked like he hadn't breathed in days. I'm still not sure I have, I said. Then breathe with me, she whispered. For a moment, I didn't know how to respond. I exhaled slowly. Trying, she stirred her coffee. Ryan called last night. Wanted to know if I'd forgive him. And? I asked. She laughed bitterly. I told him forgiveness isn't a door he can walk through whenever he's bored. I smiled. That's a good line. You can use it, she said. You'll probably need it too, I leaned back. Lena's been texting, saying she made a mistake, that we can fix things. Amelia's eyes softened. And what do you want? I stared at my cup. I don't know. Sometimes I still hear her voice when I wake up. That's normal, she said quietly. You're not missing her. You're missing who you thought she was. Her words settled over me like truth always does, painful, undeniable. We started meeting often after that. Sometimes at cafes, sometimes walking in the park near my office. It wasn't about love. It was about surviving the same storm. One evening, I found her sitting on a bench, hands clasped together tightly. You okay? I asked. She shook her head. I found one of his old letters today. He'd written it when we first got married. He said he'd love me forever. I sat beside her. Forever doesn't mean what we thought it did. She gave a sad smile. I burned it. Good, I said. I watched the paper curl and turn black, she murmured. It felt like freedom. I looked at her. Maybe that's what we're doing, burning pieces of what was. She nodded slowly. Then maybe there's hope for what could be. The silence between us wasn't empty anymore. It was calm. Weeks passed and people started whispering. My colleagues glanced too long when Amelia stopped by my office. Claire even asked, Is something going on between you two? I said, No, we're just helping each other not fall apart. But maybe I was lying, to myself more than anyone. One night, as we left a restaurant, she stopped under the streetlight. Her eyes caught the glow, soft but uncertain. Ethan, she said, people are talking. I know, I replied. Does it bother you? I looked at her. For the first time, no, she smiled faintly. Then we've both grown. Or we've stopped caring, I said. Sometimes that's the same thing, she whispered. We walked in silence for a while. I could hear the faint hum of the city, the distant laughter from a bar. Do you ever think about them? She asked suddenly. Every day, I admitted. But it doesn't hurt the same way. How does it hurt now? Like a scar instead of a wound, I said. She nodded. That's progress. At her car, she paused. Thank you for not treating me like I'm broken. You're not broken, I said. You were just betrayed. Her eyes glistened. That's kinder than I deserve. Maybe it's the truth, I replied. She leaned against the car door. Do you think we'll ever stop talking about them? Eventually, I said. When we stop needing to. She smiled sadly. Then I hope that day never comes too soon. As she drove away, I stood there watching her taillights fade into the night. Back home, I stared at the framed photo of Lena and me, then finally took it down. My hands trembled, but it felt right. For the first time, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt like someone starting over. Amelia had said once, "We're not rebuilding the past. We're building ourselves." And maybe that was what healing really was, learning to exist without needing the ones who broke you. I sent her a message. "Thank you for today." Her reply came seconds later. "No, thank you for remembering how to breathe." I smiled in the dark, realizing that for the first time in months, I wasn't just breathing, I was alive. It started with an email. Amelia called one morning, her voice trembling. "Ethan, you need to see this." "What is it?" I asked, already sensing that familiar pull of dread. "Ryan's been planning something. It's about your company." I froze. "My company?" "Yes," she whispered. "He's trying to push you out." I drove straight to her house. She was waiting with her laptop open, eyes red but steady. "Read it," she said. I leaned over the screen. Ryan's name glared at me in the sender line. Subject, transition plan. The words blurred as I read, "Ethan's recent emotional instability makes him unfit to continue managing operations. With Lena's support, we can finalize the transfer quietly." I felt the heat rising in my chest. "He used her again," Amelia nodded. "He's playing you both," I laughed bitterly. "He took my wife, my best friend, and now my company." "Impressive resume." Her eyes searched mine. "What are you going to do?" I straightened, feeling something inside me shift. "I'm done being the one who loses." "You mean..." "I mean it's time to return the favor." She closed the laptop slowly. "Revenge." "Justice," I said. "Call it what you want." Her silence lingered before she whispered, "Then let me help." "Amelia, you don't have to..." "I want to," she interrupted. "He's lied to both of us. Maybe it's time he learns what honesty feels like, when it cuts." For the first time in months, I felt something alive in me again. Not love. Not hope. Power. Over the next few days, we met in quiet corners. Cafes, her car, even my office late at night. "Ryan handles his emails through his personal server," Amelia said, sliding me a flash drive. "This has proof. Contracts, payment records, the messages he sent to investors about replacing you." I turned the drive in my hand. "You realize what this means if it gets out?" She nodded. "He'll lose everything. And you?" I asked. She smiled faintly. "He already lost me." I plugged the drive into my laptop that night. My office lights flickered against the glass windows as I scrolled through file after file, every one of them dripping with betrayal. Lena's name appeared in more emails than I could count. "Ethan will understand once we restructure. He's not built for the stress." I slammed my fist against the desk. "Understand? You burned my life and called it understanding." My phone buzzed. "Claire, you still at the office?" she asked. "Yeah," I said quietly. "You sound off." "Just working," I lied. She paused. "You sure you're okay?" I hesitated. "Claire, if I told you I wanted to take everything back, my position, my respect, would you help me?" "Ethan," she said, her tone soft but firm, "I've watched you drown for weeks. If this is you finally swimming, I'm in." "Good," I said, "because I'm not just swimming. I'm building a storm." The next day, Amelia and I met again. She handed me a folder. Financial leaks, internal messages, proof of insider manipulation. "All linked to Ryan," she said. I flipped through it. "This is solid." She leaned closer. "We release it slowly. A whisper first, then a scream." I smiled. "You're dangerous, Amelia." "I learned from the best," she said. The plan took shape piece by piece. Claire handled the corporate side, quietly rebuilding my credibility. Amelia became my shadow, finding weaknesses in Ryan's empire. "His investors are jumpy," Claire told me one night. "One bad rumor and they'll run." "Then let's give them a reason to," I replied. Every move I made was deliberate. Every meeting, every handshake, every smile, it was all strategy now. Lena texted one evening, "I miss you." I stared at the screen, then typed back, "You'll miss more soon." Amelia laughed when I told her. "That's cruel." "So was watching her walk into his apartment," I said. Her expression softened. "Are we becoming them?" I looked at her. No, they destroy for pleasure. We destroy for closure, she nodded slowly. That's what I keep telling myself. Late one night, as we finalized the last piece of the plan, she turned to me. What happens after? She asked. After what? After he falls. After she's exposed. What happens to us? I looked at her across the dimly lit office. Then we start over clean. Together? Maybe, I said. If there's anything left of us by then, she smiled faintly. Then let's make sure the fire only burns them. Her hand brushed mine, and for a second I felt something real, warmth in the ashes. When she left, I stared out the window, city lights flickering like distant embers. Ryan had taken everything I loved, but in trying to break me, he'd built something stronger. I wasn't the man who walked in with roses anymore. I was the man holding the match, and this time, I wasn't going to beg for mercy. I whispered to the empty room. You took my life, Ryan. Now I'll take yours, piece by piece. Outside, the rain began to fall soft and steady like applause from a world that finally understood the game had changed. It started quietly, like the first crack in glass. One investor pulled out, then another. By the third, even Ryan's confident grin began to fade. Claire walked into my office one morning, holding her tablet. You should see this. I looked up. What now? She turned the screen toward me. Ryan's company stock dropped 15% overnight. I let out a slow breath. And the board? They're panicking, she said. Somebody leaked internal memos about fund diversions. I smiled faintly. Somebody? Claire smirked. Pure coincidence, I'm sure. Coincidence, I repeated, tasting the word like victory. The kind that smells like smoke. She leaned on the desk. You're really doing it, Ethan. I'm just balancing the scales, I said. Nothing more, she studied me. You don't even sound angry anymore. I ran out of anger, I said quietly. Now it's precision. That night Amelia called. He's spiraling, she said. Tell me, I replied. He's been calling investors non-stop. His assistant quit. He's shouting at everyone. And Lena? There was a pause. She's unraveling too. Someone sent her those photos. I kept my tone calm. The ones from the charity event? Yes, Amelia said, her laughing with him at the hotel afterward. The comments online are brutal. I closed my eyes. Poetic, isn't it? Amelia hesitated. Do you feel better? I thought about it. No, just quieter, she exhaled. You sound like me the day I left him. I said nothing. Silence filled the line like confession. Later she came over. Her hands trembled slightly as she poured coffee. He's losing everything, she whispered. I met her eyes. Now he'll understand what being forgotten feels like. She looked away. You really believe that's enough? It's not about enough, I said. It's about ending what he started, she nodded slowly. You're colder than I thought, I shrugged. He taught me. The next morning, the headlines hit like thunder. Business mogul Ryan Hale faces fraud allegations. News anchors called it a shocking revelation. I sat at my desk, coffee untouched, as messages flooded in. Some congratulating me quietly, others pretending sympathy. Claire walked in, waving her phone. Everyone wants a statement. What should I tell them? Tell them I'm unavailable, I said. She frowned. Ethan, you could reclaim your seat. You could go public, I shook my head. No, let him drown alone. I'll just watch the water rise. That afternoon, Lena called. Her voice cracked through the phone. Ethan, please. You have to stop this. I leaned back in my chair. Stop what? You know what? He's losing everything. You're ruining his life. Funny, I said. That line sounds familiar. Her breath hitched. I made mistakes. Don't, I interrupted. You made choices. Ethan, please, she whispered. You're not this kind of man. I wasn't, I said softly. You made sure I learned. There was silence. Then a faint sob. Do you hate me? I hesitated. No, I just don't feel anything anymore. She hung up without another word. That evening, Amelia sent me a photo, a screenshot of Ryan storming out of a meeting, reporters shouting questions. The caption read, "The Fall of a King." I stared at it for a long time before replying, "Let it burn." She showed up at my apartment later, wearing the same tired expression I'd once seen in the mirror. I thought this would make me happy, she said quietly. It doesn't, I admitted. Then why keep going? Because stopping now would mean forgiving him, I said. And I'm not ready for that. We sat in silence, the hum of the city bleeding through the windows. Finally, she whispered, "Do you ever miss who you were?" I looked at her. "Every day. But he killed that version of me." She touched my hand lightly. "Maybe you can bring him back." "After the ashes settle, maybe," I said. The next day, Ryan called. For a second, I almost didn't answer. Then I did. "Ethan," his voice cracked. "You need to stop this madness." "I didn't start it," I said evenly. "You think you're better than me?" "No," I replied. "Just smarter this time." "You ruined me," he spat. "You ruined yourself," I said. I just turned on the lights. He went silent for a moment. "I trusted you," I laughed quietly. "That's the irony, Ryan. I trusted you." He hung up. Amelia texted later. "He's done. The board voted to remove him. Effective immediately." I stared at the words until they blurred. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like silence after a storm. Too still, too empty. That night I met Amelia at the pier. The air smelled like salt and rain. "It's over," she said softly. "Nothing's ever really over," I murmured. She turned to me. "Then what now?" I looked at the dark waves. "Now we learn to live with what's left." Her hand found mine. "And what's left, Ethan?" I thought for a long moment. Just us. Two people who learned the hard way what trust costs. She smiled sadly. "Then maybe that's enough." I didn't answer. I just watched the tide pull away from the shore, like everything else that used to matter, and in that quiet, I realized revenge doesn't heal. It just changes the shape of the wound. Her knock came at midnight, soft, hesitant, familiar. For a moment, I thought it was my imagination. Then her voice, broken and quiet, slipped through the door. "Ethan, please, open up." I froze. Lena. When I opened the door, she stood there drenched in tears, her mascara running like ink bleeding through paper. "You won," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Are you happy now?" I stared at her. The woman who once swore I was her world now looked like she had lost hers. "I didn't win," I said. "You just lost what you built on lies." Her lip quivered. "You think I don't know that? You think I haven't paid enough?" She stepped inside without waiting for permission, clutching her purse like it held the last piece of her dignity. "Ryan left me," she said suddenly, her words slicing through the silence. "He found someone younger, someone easier. I was disposable. I wanted to feel satisfaction. I wanted to smile and say, 'Now you know.' But all I felt was an ache that mirrored hers." "You knew what he was," I said quietly. "You just thought you'd be the exception," she laughed bitterly. "Don't act like you never believed in him. You called him your brother." "I did," I admitted. "And he proved what brotherhood means to men like him." She turned to face me, eyes red, voice cracking. I thought revenge would make me feel better too. I told myself I'd hurt him, but I couldn't. I just kept waiting for the guilt to go away. I looked at her, really looked, and saw the same emptiness I'd once carried. "It doesn't go away," I said. "It just changes shape." Her shoulders sagged. "You destroyed him, Ethan. The investors, the reputation, the company, everything. And you stood there watching. Didn't that give you anything?" "It gave me silence," I replied. "Nothing more." For a long time she didn't speak. The city lights spilled through the window, tracing faint patterns across her face. I remembered how I once thought those eyes were my home. Now they were just tired. She whispered, "I hate you for what you did to him, but I hate myself more for what I did to you." I let out a slow breath. "Then maybe we're finally even," she shook her head. "No, you're free. I'm still chained to the mess I made." "You can still start over," I said. "You just have to stop chasing the ghosts." Her gaze lifted to mine, glassy and fragile. "Do you ever miss me?" I hesitated. The question felt like a test, one I didn't want to pass or fail. "Sometimes," I said. "But I miss who I thought you were, not who you became." Tears filled her eyes again. "I don't even know who I am anymore." "You're someone trying to breathe in the ashes," I murmured. "That's a start." She looked around my apartment, scanning the bare walls, the half-finished coffee, the stacks of unread books. "You still live like you're waiting for something." "Maybe I'm just learning to live without waiting," I said. She smiled faintly, a fragile curve of regret. "You always wanted peace. I wanted excitement. I guess we both got what we deserved." "Maybe," I said softly. Or maybe we just learned too late what mattered. For a moment, silence settled between us, heavy but not hostile. I poured her some water. She took it with trembling hands. "Do you see her often?" she asked suddenly. "Who?" "Amelia," I nodded. "Sometimes she's healing, slowly. And you?" "I'm trying," I said. "One day at a time," she exhaled shakily. "I envy that. I wish I could just erase everything." "You can't erase it," I said gently, "but you can stop letting it write your story." Her eyes widened a little, as if those words hurt and healed at once. "You sound different, Ethan. Colder, but lighter." "I burned too much to stay warm," I said. "Now I just don't want the fire anymore." She stood, setting the glass down. "I should go," I nodded. "Take care of yourself, Lena." At the door, she turned back.
"You really don't hate me?"
"I did," I admitted. "But hate keeps you tied to the person who hurt you." "I'm done being tied." She gave a small broken smile. "Then maybe you really did win." When the door closed, the silence that followed didn't sting. I looked out at the city, its chaos, its noise, its endless motion, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a ghost inside it. Karma hadn't needed my hands. It had done its work without my help. And as I stood there breathing the quiet, I realized the real victory wasn't their pain. It was my peace. Rain drummed against the windows like the world was washing itself clean. I was sitting in the dark, nursing silence, when I heard the knock. 3 soft, uncertain taps. "Ethan," her voice came through the door. Trembling, I opened it to find Amelia standing there, soaked to the bone. Her hair clung to her face, mascara streaking faintly down her cheeks. She looked exhausted, but her eyes carried something new. "Freedom. It's over," she whispered. Ryan signed the divorce papers. I stepped aside silently, letting her in. The room filled with the scent of rain and her perfume, faint but familiar. She wrapped her arms around herself, shivering. "Sit," I said softly. "I'll get you a towel." When I handed it to her, her fingers brushed mine, cold, trembling, alive. "I didn't know where else to go," she murmured. "You came to the only place that understands," I replied. She smiled weakly. "You always say things that sound like they hurt and heal at the same time." "I've had practice." Amelia sat on the couch, pulling her knees close. "Do you remember the night we met?" "The gala?" "I remember the silence," I said. "It said more than any introduction could," she nodded slowly. "I think I knew even then that you understood what it felt like, to be invisible beside someone who pretends to love you." Her voice cracked on the last word. I sat across from her, watching the way her shoulders shook. "You don't have to hold it together here," I said quietly. Her eyes glistened. "I thought signing those papers would feel like freedom. But it just feels empty." "Emptiness is the first step," I told her. "That's how peace begins." She looked up at me, eyes searching. "Peace. I almost forgot what that word meant." I leaned back, exhaling. So did I. For a while, neither of us spoke. The sound of rain filled the space between us. It wasn't awkward, it was familiar, almost comforting. Like silence had finally learned how to breathe. Then she whispered, "Do you ever think we deserved better?" I shrugged. "Maybe we just deserved truth." Her lips curved into a faint smile. "Truth hurts more than lies sometimes." "Yeah," I said, "but at least it doesn't rot you from the inside." She pulled the towel tighter around her shoulders. "He begged me to stay once," she said softly. "He promised he'd change. And I almost believed him, until I realized I wasn't waiting for him to change. I was waiting for me to stop caring. "That's when you know it's over," I said. She nodded. "And you? Do you still think about her?" "Sometimes," I admitted. "Not the way I used to. It's more like a song I've stopped liking but can't get out of my head." Her soft laugh filled the room, the first sound of warmth all night. "That's painfully poetic." "I blame the insomnia," I said with a small smile. Her eyes softened. "You're healing, Ethan. I can see it." "Maybe," I said. "Or maybe I'm just learning to live with the scars." She reached out then, hesitant, unsure, and touched my hand. "Scars mean you survived." Something in me loosened at her touch. There was no rush of desire, no feverish spark, just warmth. Simple human warmth. "I didn't come here to start something," she said quickly. "I just didn't want to be alone tonight." "You're not," I said. "Not anymore." Her fingers tightened slightly around mine, as if confirming it was real. I used to think love was about needing someone, she said. Now I think it's about understanding someone. Maybe it's both, I said. Needing the right kind of understanding. She smiled faintly, her gaze dropping. When I told Ryan I was done, he laughed. Said I'd never survive without him. I didn't answer. I just walked away. That's the strongest answer you could have given. I didn't feel strong. Neither did I when I walked away from the ruins. But here we are, still breathing, her shoulders relaxed. I think I came here to remember that. The rain softened outside, a quiet hush replacing the storm. Stay until it stops, I said. You shouldn't be out there right now, she hesitated.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. Amelia sank deeper into the couch, curling beneath the towel. I used to dream of peace, she murmured. But I never thought it would look like this, quiet, tired, and kind. I smiled faintly. Peace doesn't arrive with fireworks. It just stops hurting. She looked at me, really looked. And what about you, Ethan? Do you still want revenge? I shook my head. Revenge is for the broken. I think I've finally had enough of breaking. Her lips parted slightly, like she wanted to say something but didn't. Instead, she leaned forward, resting her forehead against mine. No passion. No desperation. Just the slow exhale of two people who had survived the same storm, when she whispered, "Thank you." It felt like forgiveness for both of us, I whispered back. You don't owe me anything. I know, she said. That's why it matters. The rain stopped then, leaving only the soft hum of the city beyond the glass. I didn't move. Neither did she. For the first time in years, I didn't need to. Maybe love wasn't about ownership. Maybe it was about peace after war. And in that moment, with her hand in mine and silence settling like sunlight after rain, I finally understood what it meant to survive. The night before I left, the apartment felt too quiet. Boxes lined the floor, each one filled with pieces of a life I no longer wanted to carry. On my desk lay a blank sheet of paper and too many words trapped inside me. I started writing before I could stop myself. Ryan, I began, the name feeling foreign on the page. You took everything from me, my trust, my home, my certainty. But in doing so, you freed me. I used to think I'd never forgive you. Now I realize I already have. Not for your sake, but for mine. The pen shook in my hand. I paused, then wrote, You can keep your victories, your lies, your empire of dust. I'm done standing in its shadow. The pain you gave me taught me who I am without you. I set the pen down, staring at the words until they blurred. My chest felt lighter, not healed, but empty in a way that didn't hurt anymore. A knock broke the silence. When I opened the door, Amelia stood there, holding 2 cups of coffee. I thought you might still be awake, she said. I smiled faintly. I haven't been sleeping much. She stepped in, her eyes scanning the boxes. So it's real. You're actually leaving. Yeah, I said softly. New city, new start. She handed me a cup. You always liked your coffee too bitter. Still do. I took a sip. Guess some habits don't change. Amelia leaned against the counter. I heard Ryan's moving too. Somewhere overseas. Starting another company. Let him, I said. He was always good at running from himself, she nodded. And Lena? She called last week. Wanted to meet. I said no, her brows lifted. No closure? This is closure, I said, gesturing to the letter on the desk. Everything I needed to say is right there. She walked closer, reading the first few lines. You're not sending it? I shook my head. No, he doesn't deserve to know I'm free. He deserves to wonder if he ever broke me. Amelia smiled faintly. That's poetic. I'm tired of revenge and poetry, I said. I just want peace. She looked around the half-empty room. You found it, you know, did I? She nodded. I can see it. You're not angry anymore. You're still. I met her gaze. And you? I'm learning to live without fear, she said. It's strange, waking up and not wondering what he'll destroy next. Strange is good, I said. We stood there in quiet, both sipping coffee that had already gone cold. Then she smiled. Really smiled. The way she hadn't since the night I met her. I wanted to thank you, she said. For what? For reminding me that broken doesn't mean worthless. You could have used me as part of your revenge. You didn't, I shrugged. We were both drowning. It wouldn't have helped to push each other under. Her eyes softened. Maybe that's why we survived, I laughed quietly. Maybe, she set her cup down and walked to the door. I won't say goodbye, she said. Then don't. But I'll say this. Wherever you go, don't lose this version of yourself. The one who stopped fighting ghosts. Her hand lingered on the doorknob. You deserve peace, Ethan. So do you, I said. She hesitated, then turned back. Will you ever read the letter to him? No, I said. He doesn't need to hear it. I just needed to write it. She smiled again, softer this time. Then it's done. After she left, I looked at the letter one last time. The ink had dried, the word steady, final. I folded the paper neatly and left it on the desk, not for Ryan, but for the man I used to be. When the morning light crept through the blinds, I picked up my keys and didn't look back. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was running. I was simply moving forward. Maybe that's what freedom really is, not forgetting, but forgiving yourself for remembering. The sea was calm that morning. Waves rolled in slow, steady breaths, as if the ocean itself had finally forgiven something. I walked along the sand, a cup of coffee in my hand instead of the bitterness I used to hold. The air smelled like salt and rain. I took a sip, letting the warmth settle in my chest. Strange, I murmured. How peace feels heavier than anger. A voice beside me laughed softly. Maybe because you're not used to it. I turned and smiled. Amelia was walking a few steps behind, her shoes dangling from her hand. Her hair danced in the wind, lighter than I'd ever seen it. You still follow me around, I said. She shrugged. Old habits. We sat down on a smooth rock near the shore. The sound of waves filled the silence between us. Do you ever think about them? She asked quietly. Sometimes, I admitted. But not with hate anymore, she nodded. I saw Ryan last month. He looked lost. He always was, I said. He just hit it better back then. Amelia traced circles in the sand with her finger. And Lena? She remarried, I said. I hope she's happy. I really do. She looked at me, almost surprised. You mean that? I do, I said. Hating them kept me alive once. But living without hate, that's what made me free. The wind carried our words out to the water, scattering them like ashes. Do you ever miss who you were before all of it? She asked. I shook my head. No, he died the night everything broke. And maybe that's okay. Sometimes the person you were needs to die so the one you're meant to be can breathe. She smiled. You sound wiser than the man I met at that gala. I sound older, I said, grinning. Wiser is optional, Amelia laughed, a soft, real sound that felt like sunlight. You ever wonder why we survived when everything else fell apart? Maybe because we didn't chase revenge, I said. We let it burn itself out. She tilted her head. You think that's what healing is? Maybe, I said. Healing isn't about forgetting. It's about remembering without bleeding. For a while, we just listened to the sea again. The waves touched our feet, then retreated, like forgiveness that came quietly without asking permission. Amelia stood first. You're leaving again, aren't you? I nodded. New city. Different coast. No plans this time, just living. She smiled. You always were better at beginnings than endings. Maybe because I finally stopped fearing both, I said. We looked at each other, two people who had been broken by the same storm, now standing in its calm. Take care of yourself. Ethan, she said. I will, I promised. And you? I already am. As she walked away, her footprints faded behind her, erased by the tide. I finished my coffee, watching the horizon glow with morning light. The world still carried its betrayals, but I didn't carry mine anymore. Revenge hadn't healed me. It had transformed me. And sometimes what's taken from you is just life's way of clearing space for what you truly deserve.